because I was thinking about it and I was like, otherwise you're going to ask me and I'm just going to sit there and be like, so there we go.
Well, look, I guess like the first question I wanted to ask yourself was, what was it like your first point of contact with like me and Simon? Like we think we contacted you, or we just messaged you through Instagram, or was it you saw us and then you sort of reached out? Tell us a little bit about the first point of contact.
So from what I can remember, I think you guys followed my Instagram account.
Sure.
So I followed you guys back. I'd have to go back through the messages. And then you messaged me. No, you followed my account. I followed you. And then you lot messaged me, I'm pretty sure, just kind of touching base. And then a couple of weeks later, you messaged to say about the course.
Sure.
And I don't know what it was, because you get loads of, I don't know if you know this, but you get loads of messages from people that are like, oh, do you want to do this course? Do you want to do that course? And I just thought, I don't know if it's that you've messaged initially before you said, do you want to do this course or what? But there was something in the way that maybe you followed, I think it's because you followed the account and it wasn't all instantaneously like follow, like, oh, here you go, here's my course. So that's why I was like, oh no, I'd be really interested, because you'd been paying attention to what I was doing and stuff. So I felt like you were more invested in me and my business than basically anyone else who had messaged me. And I had a lot of messages that were like, do this. And I'm like, no, you don't know anything about me. So that's,
So you would say it was like a lot more organic, the initial process with PT Mechanics, more organic, and it felt more real.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely felt right from the off that you guys were interested in what I was doing. Yep. And thereafter were invested in making sure that I was doing it well, I guess. Yeah, definitely.
That's a good starting point.
Yes.
A very good starting point. Like the format with, the weekly sessions, logging in. I know you're in Adelaide. How did you find that?
Actually really easy. So I do use Zoom quite a lot already. So that might have something to do with it. If you never use Zoom and don't have it downloaded, then it might be more difficult. I don't know.
Sure.
But I use Zoom a lot already. And then just working out the time difference. But again, you guys normally work the time difference out for me, which was awesome.
Yeah, look, it's something that we've, like I said, I've had to learn the hard way. You've really got to, factor in the Eastern Standard Time. You guys in Adelaide in South Australia, you guys are in the middle, and then obviously Perth, we're about 2 hours behind. I think when it gets tricky is when New South Wales goes into daylight savings time and Queensland doesn't. Now you're factoring in 4 time zones instead of just 3. So yeah, it does get kind of tricky. But the overall format, Zoom meetings, and then the presentations from the Zoom meetings, you enjoyed those. They were engaging, and that you were able to get a lot of good feedback and learn from them essentially.
Yeah, definitely. I really liked that you guys. So you obviously always asked if there was questions right at the end, but you also did stop intermittently and say, right, are you all following? And whether people had the confidence or not to say so, it was nice to be given the option to be like, oh, actually, I don't quite get that part. Whereas most people leave it right until the end. And then it's like, well, you spoke about this 50 minutes ago. I don't want to bring it up now. This is awkward.
Yeah.
Whereas you always made sure we were all following, checking for head nods, thumbs up, things like that.
Yeah.
That was quite a big, it's just nice to know that you actually know that we're following it.
Yeah, 100%.
Being like, oh, I'm just following in the dark, not got a clue.
So it's sort of, it is sort of a technique that we do use, is that, look, if you are new to a lot of that information, it can be quite overwhelming, like having that all thrown at you, and questions come up, and these questions are coming up organically, and you kind of want to ask them. So it's strategic that we got to ask you guys, and at the end of the day, it's in our best interest to make sure you guys are following along, and that you're understanding what we're teaching and everything like that. So that's great. I'm glad you enjoyed the format and how we sort of we break it up.
That was good.
The overall content, what was your thoughts? Obviously week 1 we did a little bit about business setup and how to get going, expenses. Week 2, it was a very, very deep dive in our in branding, lead generation, how to create an offer, sales. Look, we looked at the 3-session selling process and how to sort of get people across the line and sort of bring those objections down. And then week 4 was obviously the customer service. How did you find the content?
Really good. Definitely have built a lot of confidence. So it's not stuff that you get taught. I don't think it's not stuff that I've ever been taught in terms of the PT stuff, fitness, education, things, my degree, things never go into that. Mm-hmm. So I definitely feel a lot more confident now when I go into the PT environment, being able to be like, oh no, I do know what I'm offering you, as opposed to being one of those people that's like, will you tell me what you want and I can make it work? It's that kind of, and then they respect you more for it and things. The expenses and things, would not have had a clue how to set that up. Not gonna lie, I would have just listed stuff and hoped for the best.
Sure.
Be like, oh, that'll work. And the stuff that you gave us access to, so like the expense tracker, being mm-hmm. able to work out how many clients, how many leads you need to make a week and stuff, that's crazy. And yeah. So you've given that to us. I'm gonna keep that, but I think you could sell that quite very easily. Definitely should be selling. So the expense stuff you could do generally, but the working out leads thing, that's like gold dust.
100%.
You gave that to us now. Oh, look at this. You've just given me this in the first week. What's going on? It was really cool.
I'm glad. That's very, very, that's a huge positive. Maybe I might not include it in the next course then. Hey? I might have to
save it to the final bit,
sure.
Or to the final 4-week bit, or make them pay for it.
Make them pay for it?
I should be saying, well, I already have access to it, so whatever. But yeah.
Cool. No. Look, I appreciate the feedback, and I'm glad it was very, very, very valuable to you. Tell me, what was your thoughts in regards to say, the branding session that we did? Was that something new? Did it help you sort of establish who you are?
The first one or the candle one, or both?
No, the first one.
Yeah. It was really good for me because I enter into things quite sporadically. I'd be like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do the other. It was really good for me to have all these thoughts kind of whirling around and then be able to get it down on paper. And there was loads of stuff I'd not thought about. So when we were talking about what the colours mean in marketing, I'd just gone towards these colours because I liked them. Sure. And it wasn't until I looked into it that I was like, oh, it does actually work. But can you imagine if I'm wanting to do rehab and I'd gone for bright red? That would have been awful.
Yeah, exactly. So there was some science behind it. It was method to the madness.
Yeah, definitely. It was nice to being able to put it all down and then kind of pick apart what the method was and how I can utilize that to the best of my ability, I guess.
Sure. So you'd say having those guides and those strategies really helped you establish and define your personal training brand.
Yeah, it was like having a mind map, but organized. I love mind mapping and it just looks a mess.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys, it's almost if you guys had done that and then been like, right, this is how you can utilize this and progress your brand and yourself and be successful in the industry, which was really helpful because no one's ever unmuddled that for me before.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
That's awesome. And it's something they don't teach you, in Cert 3 and 4 when you're going through the fitness course.
No.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad to hear that was highly beneficial for you. The sales, the sales process and the PEQ document, the pre-exercise questionnaire. What was your thoughts on that session, and what was your thoughts on that PT toolbox item?
It sounds really stupid because it seems really obvious now that you've done the PEQ type thing. As soon as I saw that, I was like, okay. And then when I saw how you guys were saying to implement, I was like, oh yeah, that seems so obvious. Never would have thought of it. So again, something else that's massively built my confidence. I hate sales. Sure. I hate I'm not confident in that kind of thing. Ask me about almost anything else and I can give you some blasé answer. But having that as the background, I was like, oh mate, that's so easy. Because that's given me the answers when they go, oh yeah, but. I'm like, no, there's no but.
Yeah,
and I know there's no but.
So essentially what it's done, having a PEQ and being taught how to use that, it's given you the confidence with sales and it's helped you overcome those objections, you know, and for someone that doesn't really like sales, it will help you overcome those objections. And that's what you found it's going to help you with.
Yeah, definitely. It's just so much easier to have that kind of background. Yeah, you got it. That's it, basically.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Session number 4 with
Mm-hmm.
the customer service side of stuff. You know, obviously,
Yes. Yeah.
again, it's something that they don't really cover in a lot of the Cert 3 and 4 material when you go through a regular RTO. But what was your thoughts on the customer service session and talking about like experience, providing a very, very like organic experience and higher client retention rates? What were your thoughts on that session and my weird references to the hairdresser, the restaurant, you know,
Yep.
all that type of stuff? Tell me, what do you think about that?
So I've done loads of work in customer service up until now. So for the last 10 years, I've been in hospitality, reception, customer service type roles. So I love customer service stuff. I'm a bit weird. So some of it I did already know, but having the comparisons between, so like the hairdressers and stuff, it does seem a bit weird. It's a bit like, oh, that's peculiar.
Yeah.
But it does really make you realize what that, like, it puts the point into an actual perspective, as opposed to being like, oh, well, you want good customer service, and it's like, well, yeah, but where do you see it every day? How do you get that? That really helped. I think that the big one for me that people had mentioned in the PT world, but I never really paid much attention to until you loaded up the hairdressers, which is really funny because obviously hairdressers must speak to me or something, I don't know. Was about the perception. So people have always said to me, when your own business or a PT, you are your own advertisement. And I've always been like, yeah, I get that. But it wasn't really until we went through it that I think I understood the importance of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think I've always kind of been like, oh yeah, well, obviously. But then when I saw that, I was like, oh wait, okay, this could actually have a bigger impact than you'd assume.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess when you're, you know, trying to create loyalty from your clients, and you're much more than just a personal trainer, you're an accountability coach. And then as you build that rapport and you establish more of a rapport with them, yeah, you kind of end up being their counselor, their best friend, you know their dog's name, you know the dog's birthday. So yeah, so it's really that is a really, really important aspect of it. And like what Simon said, you know, he's had clients for 5-7 years. You know, that's astounding. You know, some of those clients are paying him upwards of, you know, $100, $110 a week, and have been for the majority of that time. So that's it's significant. It's significant. Yeah, exactly. What do you think of the concept of the school teacher? You know, obviously you're not just there to train people. You have to do your session planning. You have to do all these things outside of the session. Did that make sense in that concept there?
Yeah, in as much as, so I know that the teachers do a lot of background work. I think if people are, you'd hope that they don't assume teachers just turn up and teach, but you never know. So that might be something to potentially think about, in that it depends. I don't know what kind of level that everyone seems around my level in terms of like my age and stuff. So you'd assume that they understood that there was more to teaching. It doesn't look like you're aiming the course at like 15-year-olds in school.
Yeah,
so
100%.
they might have that naivety of being like, oh, I thought my teacher just turned up. But it does make sense in terms of, because, and again, that's something that's not highlighted in the PT course. I'm doing the course at the minute, and yesterday I was reading a bit, and it was quite literally like, oh, so if you're working 32 hours a week, you can expect to be working about 40 because you'll have to do some course planning. And that was it. There was no explanation of
why and what are you doing and how are you doing that, you know?
Yeah. What does it mean? How's it implemented? And it's not just course planning. Like you guys have explained, it's about the offers that you've got on. It's about the packages that you put together. It's all the marketing, unless you've got thousands of dollars and you're going to pay someone to do the marketing, which I don't, so I'm not doing right now.
Exactly.
Like, they didn't explain any of that. It was really kind of brushed under the carpet. It was like, oh, well, you want to work 30 hours, but it'll be more like 40, but you don't really need to know why or how. And realistically, it's going to be more than 40 if you're working 30 hours face to face.
100%. 100%. Can you see why, like, I guess two things comes off the back of what you've just said then. Can you then sort of see why the failure rate of PTs is very, very high. If people coming into the
Yeah.
industry and it just doesn't work out and they leave, can you see how that is very, very high when they're not very educated on business practical skills that they're going to have to do to, or have to know and learn to sort of build a successful business? And then can you also see why there is a sort of a necessity for companies like ours to come
Yeah.
in and sort of like finish off that Cert 3 and 4?
Yeah, I feel like you guys have, so you do your Cert 3 and 4, and they tell you how many people complete the qualification, not how many, without meaning to be ridiculous, not how many fail as a PT within the first year or whatever. And then I feel like you guys have kind of taken the figure of, this is how many PTs fail, but we're going to show you how not to be that person. And not only have you shown us how not to, you've given us the tools to not. So rather than just doing a PowerPoint and being like, oh, well, it's this, 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 and this, you've interacted with us. You've given us the resources, and then you've checked up on us, and not checked up on us, but given us feedback and interacted post if it's something that we've been interested in. So I feel like arguably they do the qualification in terms of what we need liability, but you guys are what actually makes it possible as a business, if that makes sense.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, look, it's something that we focused on. You know, we want to, when Simon and I first set out and we built Resolution Fitness 6 years ago, and then, you know, we've had PT mechanics, or the foundations of PT mechanics for like the last, say, like 3-4 years. We've been mentoring for a long period of time. Look, if, you know, our belief and our mission statement was to raise the industry standard of personal trainers and decrease the number of personal trainers that failed. So look, so that was sort of like, that's where our passion lies. And like, I get to have conversations with people like yourself, and see, you know, people like you grow and establish something, and, you know, go on to be, you know, a very, very successful PT, which I have no doubt that you will. So,
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yes. Look, so it is something that we're very, very, very passionate about. And I would say it's almost, I think it's something that should be mandatory is, you know, finishing the course. Yes, you know how to program, you know how to do, you know, training specifics, and now you're compliant for public indemnity, public liability, all that type of stuff. And now you can, you know, learn the actual practical skills to, you know, survive and thrive. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What was your favorite part of the course?
The favorite part? Oh, I don't know.
Or thing? Was it the business
so I've got
tracker
a
or?
couple,
Yeah,
but
go
the
on
first
then.
one I don't think is what you're looking for.
No,
So,
I'm looking for any answer. Any answer.
So there's a couple of things that spring to mind, but looking back over the course, the moment when I was really like, wow, won't swear, tailor the language, was after, so normally on a weekend, Saturday and Sunday, my boyfriend and I just lie in, we have a chilled weekend, we'll get up and do whatever, maybe head out, have some drinks. But I set an alarm for the first week to get up and do the course. And there's been so many courses and so many people email me, oh, come and do my nutrition thing, oh, jump on this phone call, oh, do this person. And I was just like, okay, let's see if this is any good. Best moment ever was when the course finished and I went back, I came downstairs, found Vaughan and was like, oh my God, that was the best course ever. This is so worth it. So for me, that one moment where the penny dropped, and it was kind of instantly in the first session, you could see what you were trying to help us with, how you were going to do it. You're both nice and approachable and easy to talk to as well. So it's not like this, oh, we all have to sit here and it was quite like, okay, it's a bit more relaxed. That was one of my favorite moments because I was like, oh, thank God that wasn't a waste of 2 hours on my Saturday. Thank God.
Well, I'm glad to hear.
Yeah,
and it's also, it's also very good to hear that, you know, Simon and I are, we're a couple of jokers as well. We're human, you know, and, you know, there was plenty of banter through it. You know, Simon's taking the piss out of me. I'm taking the piss out of him. We'll take the piss out of ourselves, you know, and I think that's an important, you know, we want to convey that we're human, you know, it's not, and that's that's sort of why we are the PT mechanics. It's a little bit ad hoc. It's a little bit,
Yeah.
it's
It's
kind of,
real.
exactly. It's a little bit
Yeah.
rough around the edges. Whereas you see a lot of business consult companies, it's very corporate and straight edge,
Yeah.
where we're not. And that's why I guess like Simon is the unconventional mentor. And, you know, so yeah, we like to put, and we're us. We're not trying to be, you know, very like high end corporate or anything like that. We're
Yeah.
relatable, and we're just PT mechanics. So
It was just so refreshing to kind of be like, oh, okay, this is actually something that I want to do. Other than that, so that was one of the big moments, and I was like, oh, thank God, I'm not going to waste the next 10 hours on a Saturday over the next 4 weeks or whatever it is. Was like most groundbreaking, quite interesting to me was the offer. Coming up with that's made me feel like I can approach people instantly. Even if, so I've done loads of different things, network marketing and all sorts, where people will be like, oh, we'll just go over to someone and tell them what you do. And I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. Whereas because we've sat down and gone through the offer, I feel like I could walk over to anyone and be like, oh, by the way, do you fancy $250 of free PT? And start a conversation in the middle of, like, and stick me in a ballroom and I'd do it. I'd just be like, yeah, whatever. Like, why
love
not?
it.
So it is all confidence, but I never would have thought of the offer. Nobody has ever mentioned that to me. And I'm in all sorts of different Facebook groups. I've got people in Adelaide that I'm in contact with. The course, no one has ever mentioned having something like that, ever. That to me was quite groundbreaking, which it shouldn't be because it seems really obvious, but no one's ever mentioned that.
Awesome. Absolutely love it. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that's given you the confidence, you know, it's, and it's important what you've got to hit the ground running. If you go into a conventional gym setting, you're going to be paying rent. They'll give you a minimum build up phase and you really need to hit the ground running. So it's highly important that you have an offer built straight away and have that confidence to just go up to people and just, you know, hit them up and go, hey, would you like X, Y, and Z, and really, you know, start generating leads and in turn sales. So really, 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 really positive to hear that. Really positive to hear that. My next question is, and I know we've sort of touched on it, but I wanted to ask, did you like the fact of us building you a PT toolbox? I know we're the PT mechanics and we've got the PT toolbox. Tell us what you loved about it. Tell us why you liked it. Do you think we should be doing it more in the future? Add more to it? Would love your thoughts on that.
I think, okay, to start off with, I think it's really, really, really good. If people, and then I like as well that there was never any pressure from you guys to do the homework, so to speak. Like you were like, if you want to do it, it's there. If not, then whatever. But it is quite obvious at the same time that if you engage in the material, that's where you're going to succeed. So if you're going to get up and spend, I don't really understand why you'd get up and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours of your Saturday morning and then not follow through with doing the actionable stuff. So I really liked that you could put what we'd learned, we were then going through on our own. And it was also nice to know that if we had any questions, we could always just email you and ask. I think for the most part, the length of it was really good. I think if it was too long, people would end up probably dropping off and not doing it.
Sure.
Whereas just because it's one of those, I don't know, which is funny because although it's an actionable thing for your business, I think it's to do with potentially people being like, oh, you can or can't do it. Maybe if you're like, you have to do it and you made it longer, people would do it. I don't know. I found that the length of it though was really good because it was enough for me to get stuck in, get like my brain juices flowing about what I wanted to do without absolute being draining, if that makes sense. Sometimes things can just go on so long that you're like, oh, I'm so over this now. Whereas I was doing the call and then during the week doing the toolbox, and the whole time was just thinking like business, offer, package, and being excited about it. You never drained my energy on it. Whereas if it's too long, I think it could. And if it's too short, then you just wouldn't be able to get all the info down, I don't think. So I think you've nailed all of that. The only thing I'd say is sometimes when you go to open the doc, if you open it as a Google Doc to edit it, the formatting goes funny on it. So
Hmm.
I can open it later if you want and take photos and send them to you so you can see what happens.
Question.
Mm.
Um, are you opening it in Google Docs or are you opening it in Word?
Google Docs.
That's
So
bizarre.
it went from a PDF
Yep.
on mine. It
Oh,
went from
that,
PDF.
yeah, that will happen. That will
Yeah.
happen. Yeah. So I actually have the original as a Google Doc.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, that's something I need to do because a lot of the time I will just PDF it and get you guys to print it out. It feels nice to write on
Yeah.
things, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
look, it's something I definitely should offer. There's the PDF, there's the Google Doc,
There's the
and then
Google
that
Doc.
way you can type in on it and everything like that. So yeah,
Yeah, that's the only thing that, to be honest though, so the formatting went funny, but it wasn't impossible. Like, I'm not saying like you couldn't read it, like you could still work it out. It wasn't the end
it's
of the
good.
world. It didn't look as nice on the eye. That's all. It just wasn't as easy to see. Um, but yeah, that will be because it's gone from PDF. In terms of printing it out, I'm personally more of a print it out person. I just couldn't get to a printer that day. So I was like, I'll do it on here.
Sure,
And it didn't
sure.
work. And I was like, oh, but it still worked.
With
Um,
regard, sorry for cutting you
no,
off.
no,
Keep going,
yeah.
keep going, keep going.
No, I think that's it really. Just, yeah, being able
Um,
to do the actionable stuff is good.
yeah. On the PT toolbox, did you
Mm.
find the PT tools, the business development tools, the strategies and the guides, were they relevant?
Yes.
Did they get you excited?
Yeah, definitely. Um, so to cut a long story short, I came out here and was supposed to go home and do my Masters of Physio. I now am staying here and not doing my Masters of Physio and have decided to do rehab through PT instead. And being on the calls, but then being able to implement the tasks myself and the strategies that you guys have said, and not only on paper, but think like being able to picture how they would work in a real environment is what's got me so excited about doing this, about being a PT and because it was very much for me. I was like, oh, I want to do physio. I'm a physio. That's where I want to go. And then a lot happened, yada yada yada. I now live in Adelaide, and then being able to. So the calls were really good and informative, but it's the toolbox and the strategies that you guys have put in there that have given me that like, holy cow, this can work. I don't have to do the physio. I can do this, and this is how I'm going to do it. It's that you guys have given me that excitement back for my career, which is quite nice. That was lacking
Beautiful.
for a good 12 months, but it
I'm,
is that.
I'm glad. I'm glad
Yeah,
we've been able to do that for you. That's
definitely.
astounding. That's astounding.
Yeah. But it is having that actionable stuff that's helped with that because
Yeah.
it is being able to see how it would all connect in the
All,
outer
all
world.
come together.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the word. Yeah.
Look, I've only got a couple more questions for you, Beth. But
Mm.
one of those, and you've sort of divulged a little bit about this next question, but I just want to really, highlight it. After coming through the 3-4 week course, going through the sales, the marketing, the business setup, the customer service side of things,
Yeah.
going through all the PT toolbox items, what are some of the outcomes that you've learned, and what are some of the outcomes that you've developed that you're really happy with?
Oh, I could go on for this for ages. I try and keep it short and sweet, short and snappy. Well, so the main one being is that I'm excited again about my career, which has been a long time coming. That's something that's made a massive difference to me. The offer, sorry, the dog's dropping his rock.
All good,
Fanny,
all good.
okay. The offer stuff, a lot of it's just built my confidence, but it's built my confidence because it's not stuff that I ever knew. So the offer stuff was really good. The pricing stuff, I've not talked about that. How the pricing works, I used to hate selling stuff, but I feel like with that sheet and it being as simple as like 1, 2, 3 sessions, this is the options. I can do that. And I never would have. So I'm excited about my career. I feel like I can actually sell something for once. And I have the confidence to do that. Like that, which
Awesome.
is to say, so it's 4 weeks, but maximum of 8 hours, and that some of it was less than that because they weren't all 2 hours.
Sure.
And that's quite impressive that you've managed to put all that together and have that kind of an impact within 6 or 7 hours, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Amazing. So like your big takeaways are that it's given you the confidence.
Yeah.
It's allowed you to develop an offer whereby, you know, you can actually now enjoy all the sales process. You've got set prices that you can sort of work from. Again, building confidence. You've sort of been able to establish your brand and know your niche market and everything like that. So it's given you the structure. It's actually what we call our sort of our shotgun approach.
Okay.
A lot of other, like, you know, there's a whole, you know, we're not the only company out there. There's a lot of them out there. They do it over 8, 12, etc. weeks. That we feel as though that, you know, when you go into a gym, you got a build up phase, you know, you've got expenses, you need to start earning, you know, getting a revenue coming in as soon as possible. And that's why we try and shotgun the course over 4 weeks. Like you said, 6 to 8 hours worth of content, PT, the PT toolbox, all the strategies and things like that. Is to get you going as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Then, like, you know, if get you guys going as soon as possible, get leads coming in, make sales, then we can refine. Then we can start looking sort of like at more advanced methods and things like that. So yeah, cool.
No, it's good. It's a good way of doing it. Sorry, the dogs. I shouldn't be doing this downstairs.
All good. Don't worry about it. All right. We're going to got two more questions left.
Yeah, no, you're all good.
Would you recommend the course to
Yeah.
a personal trainer? Yeah, straight out of the gate.
Anyone who's not a PT, I'll recommend it to them as well. All of them.
Yeah. So would you recommend it to, like, say, like a newly graduated PT, someone that's just coming to finish their certs, or maybe like an established personal trainer that needs a little bit of help with getting, you know, the foundation? Would you recommend it to them, and why? Why would you recommend it to them?
Yeah. So anyone in my situation, so currently studying or potentially nearly finished, or right, so up until probably newly finished, I definitely recommend it to, just because of what I've said to you. So in terms of, it kind of goes for all of them, but the certificates don't cover half of the stuff that you guys cover. And if you're not in the industry, like I'm not in the industry at the minute, so there's no like mentor or anything that would tell me about creating an offer or a package, all the lead stuff. So I'd enter into the environment and feel really like, this is not fun. I don't want to be here. Whereas what you guys have gone through has given me the confidence to be like, right, okay, let's do it. And I think you should just have to do it. Just get your cert and then just go and do this, because then at least you know what you're doing. Anyone who is qualified or is new into the gym, again, I would say the exact same thing. Unless they've done something similar, I would definitely, again, recommend it. To me, it's all about the confidence, because I've been in so many gyms and seen so many PTs that, I don't mean to be rude, don't have a clue what they're doing. It is giving that like level of confidence and the direction with how to do it. And then anyone who is qualified, they could have been in the industry for years, but it doesn't mean that they're good at sales. It doesn't mean that they understand. And even if they are good at sales, that's great. And they might have an offer and package, but they might not necessarily understand how to do their own marketing or how to do the lead generation stuff that you guys were covering. Like that to me is quite crucial. Like they might have ended up, it's the kind of
customer service.
Yeah, like there's so much stuff that they might have been in the industry for 4 or 5 years, but they might only be in there because they're in, so I don't know, Snap Fitness, Good Life, wherever, and they're doing that lead thing, and then they get someone to pay for 12 weeks, but because their customer service is shoddy, they then don't get them. But it's okay because they've got another 10 leads the next week. It might not have anything. Do you know what I mean? It's not necessarily.
They're just churning and burning it rather than consolidating their tribe and their current clients, and doubling down on their efforts to service those particular people. And they're just like, it's sort of like just going through the production line of just lead, sale, churn, burn. Yeah.
And I think it depends on obviously what you want from your business. If people are happy with that, that's great. But to me, that's not the best your business can be. 100%. So I think anyone who wants to make their business successful or the best that it can be, like whether you're newly qualified, not qualified, whatever, I definitely recommend it to. Beautiful. Definitely. I actually have a friend that I need to message you about. I need to message her to tell her before I like go and be like, just call my mate.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a couple of people that I've been like, oh wait, that's interesting.
Look, would appreciate it. Or if you're ever in like a personal training group or anything like that community in South Australia, just tag us or like talk to people. Would be happy. So happy. Look, do you have any like just ad hoc freestyle feedback or anything? I know you've covered a lot. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
You know I like to talk. That's all good. Full of words. I think I've basically covered it, but other than saying like a huge thank you to you guys, because you've really built my confidence in everything with it all. And definitely like, so huge thank you to you guys. So you've built my confidence. It's definitely got me excited about being a PT. So I thought it was something I wanted to do, thought it was a potential career path, but you guys have really kind of lit the fire under my arse, so to speak. It's really like, oh no, like, go get it, you can do it. But also that sense of community that you've managed to create as well, is that like, that's quite, so the group and stuff, also coming on but also going on the calls with everybody. Bear with me one moment.
All good.
I'm very sorry.
No, all good, don't worry about it.
I'd like to say that he's protective, but he's not. He just gets upset when he can't see who's at the front door. That's all that it is. Like, as soon as he sees
my little girl's exactly the same. She'll hear like the postman or something like that and just not happy. Absolutely not happy.
It's so weird though, because as soon as he sees their face, he's like, oh, tummy rubs. Oh my God, the life's amazing. And I'm like, do you just to eat them? Anyway. Right, so but the sense of community that you've also created. So it's very easy. So you were saying that you previously have done a lot of face-to-face work. It's very easy for somebody like me who naturally I'm quite confident, but not in PT stuff. Like PT, sports science, I don't always trust what I think I know. So it's quite daunting. I'm not gonna lie. It's quite daunting to come into a Zoom call. And it became quite apparent quite quickly that you'd been interacting with a couple of the others, that some of them were in Perth, a lot of them were in Perth and stuff like that. But so the other clients as well, the other, students, there you go, did such a, like, you're also welcoming that I very quickly felt like if I had a question, I could ask it. We could join in the conversations. The big thing as well, when we all tune in before it starts, being able to just say like, oh, what are you doing this weekend? And kind of have that conversation. I'm sure you've had that conversation like 7 or 8 times by the time the course started.
It's all good though. It's all good.
Yeah, but that was really, I thought that you did that really well. And I don't know that you guys were focusing on doing that, or if that's just happened because of who you are and like the type of business that you guys run. I think that's a really big thing.
For us, that's literally just me and Simon being me and Simon. That's just us. Like, when you're like, you meet someone or you sit down like, hey, how you going? Like, what are you doing on the weekend? That is literally just us. That's just us.
It creates a really good sense of community. It's really nice.
So we're doing it organically, which is fantastic to hear. That's fantastic to hear. And what did you think about like the, outside of the calls, the Zoom sessions and the weekly catch-ups and the toolbox items, sort of like the support and service that you had outside of those? What did you think of that?
Yeah, it was really good. Thank you. You've had multiple messages from me asking all sorts of random questions. Help me with this. Really good. You guys respond really quickly, whether it's on Facebook chat, Messenger, Instagram, whatever. There's always one of you responding really fast and getting back to us. And I didn't ask a question at any point, and I was never made to feel like stupid or like, well, duh, or we covered that. You're always really open, supportive, and it was kind of like an open conversation of like, if you need more help, let us know. But yeah, it was really good. Very much appreciated, even on a weekend, which I refuse to normally work on a weekend, so I was quite impressed.
Look, it's one of those months when you start doing PTs and you've got like 3 or 4 clients that want to do Saturday morning. You're not going to turn the money down. You're not going to turn the money down. Look, what I might do is I might just stop the recording now.